All right, well, what you're looking at here is the map of the sky at this moment in time, March 24th, 2021 at 10:08 a.m. in Berea, Ohio. So right here, this line across this circle of the sky that we're looking at is the horizon line. So right now it's telling me that 4 degrees of Gemini, that constellation in the sky, is coming up over the eastern horizon. And these little glyphs up here are the planets. So this is the glyph for Venus, and next to that it's showing me the sun. And it's giving me a location. It's saying that the sun is at the 4th degree of Aries. And these pie pieces are called houses, and those dictate areas of life. And so what it is that we do is I put symbolism behind a planet, and then I put symbolism behind the sign. So I read here a planet in a sign. The pie pieces are called houses in a house. And so today I mentioned that the sun is at the 4th degree of Aries. Tomorrow that's going to move, and it's going to be at the 5th degree of Aries. And all the planets move at their rate of speed, at all different speeds. And so what I can do is I can fast forward this and speed up time, and you can watch how this sky moves and the planets are moving. So here the moon just came up over the eastern horizon. You can watch the sun tonight at about 7, well, even a little bit earlier than that, but 7:30, between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, the sun is going to set below the horizon. In the astrology, the big three are the sun, where the sun's located, where the moon's located, and what's rising in the east. So that's your rising sign or your ascendant. That degree moves every 4 minutes. And when you take a 360-degree circle and you divide it by 12 signs of the zodiac, you get 30 degrees per each sign. So these are all equally separated. And so the rising sign, the degree moves every 4 minutes. So that's why having your exact birth time matters, because this clock is moving. Oops, a baby's born, takes his first breath. This is a screenshot of the sky at that time, and you can get insight into your life, into what motivates you, into when a storm is coming, maybe some type of emotional storm. You have an idea of what it's about because you could put the symbolism behind the sign and have an idea of what the theme is, what the lesson's going to be, and then you have an idea of when that storm is going to let up and the sun's going to come out, and you got through it. So it gives a person understanding and hope.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast number 3 with Dr. Will Mitchell-Maddock and our special guest, Angie Agnoni of Paradox Astrology. She is an intuitive astrologer. She's got 11 years of experience. She is the vice president of Lake Country Astrological Association, which was founded in 1973.
She's great to be here. Thank you.
She's doing great stuff, which is awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on with us. And today, obviously, you're an astrologer. We're going to be covering some astrology.
Yeah,
right? We're
my
gonna
favorite
talk about
topic.
Yeah, and you're an intuitive astrologer, right?
Yeah, so they say sometimes to choose your astrologer as you would choose your doctor, because what it is I'm reading a code. And when I read an astrological chart, a natal chart, the information is science, because I'm looking at the math behind it, and then I'm also looking at the interpretation, and that's the art. So it's a combination of art and science, and I'm more lean toward maybe the artistic side. So a lot of the way that I read the chart is a little bit more abstract, and I just allow it to flow through.
Yeah.
So
it's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Now tell me about, so 11 years ago, you obviously got on this journey of looking up at the stars and saying, hey, what's going on with those things, right? What was your big aha moment that pushed you in that direction?
The big aha moment was connecting with local astrologers here in Cleveland and having them never have met me, but reading my chart and describing me and describing my personality. And I was going through a pretty big upheaval at the time. And at those times in our lives, that's when we are being pushed out of our comfort zone and are searching for something new, something else that we can grasp onto. And I just started investigating it and learning it. And once it was learned, it's not, astrology isn't something to believe in. It's something to be learned and understood. Oh. And I just fell in love with it.
I like it. I like it. I like that it's It's not something, say that again.
Astrology is not something to believe in. It's something to be learned and understood.
Yeah,
So.
I like that part because I had a person who didn't know what their astrological sign was. And so when I told her what it was, and she looked it up and she's like, oh my gosh, that fits me to the T. But she was like, hey, I don't want to believe in that type of stuff, right? Can you expand on that type of way of thinking?
Well, it does stretch your mind. I mean, to have these big planetary bodies out in our solar system and to think that that has influence over our choices or over our fate and our destiny, that is a hard one for people to grasp. But something as simple as a little honeybee here on Earth has such a big job. And you don't think something the size of Pluto out there, or I'm sorry, something the size of Jupiter, Pluto's rather small, but something the size of Jupiter doesn't have an effect on us. Once you start just making certain connections, then you can see how it does work. And I mentioned there fate and destiny. I do believe that in every moment we have a choice, and that's part of being mindful. And I think astrology does help us become more mindful by understanding, okay, maybe this is a time period where I need to pause and step back because the energy is not moving forward with me. So it's strange how astrology has grown and developed and matured over the years because it was very fatalistic in prediction, but now it's different. Astrology is changing along with technology, and we can learn so much about ourselves and learn how to make those choices for ourselves. As an astrologer, I don't like to tell a person what to do or what's coming. I like to empower them by speaking to their soul. I don't see color, I don't see gender, I don't see those things. You see a soul and an energy and a spirit, and that's what I talk to when I give a reading to a person.
I love it.
That leads kind of to, okay, so I have this question that I've been wanting to ask since before we even started the podcast. And it's, so from what I've gathered, from what you've said so far, even before the podcast started, is that astrology is like a lens, a pair of glasses to pick up to look at the world. Like, everything is happening, as it's happening, but like there's a science that you can choose to look at the world through that allows you to kind of understand how it's working more, to break it down into patterns, and just the same way that maybe in the world you can look out, you see how a tree happens to look exactly how our lungs look on the inside, or how the universe looks a lot like our cells look at on inside the body. Like, you can kind of understand that everything in the universe is reflectant patterns inside and out, within and without. And like, it seems like astrology is literally the breakdown of learning how to study. It seems like studying those patterns and then how to use that to understand where you're going, where you've been, where you are. Is that it's what it seems like for the most part?
Yeah, definitely. It works in cycles, and like I said, with technology coming, all this would have to be hand calculated. All the planetary points and where they're sitting would have to be calculated by hand, but now just with an app on the phone you get it immediately, and you can look at astrology in hindsight, which means you can take the cycle. Let's say Saturn has a orbit around the sun about 29 years, so you look at that, and Saturn was the furthest planet out that our ancients could see. They didn't know any planets beyond that existed, so they said, okay, this planet is representation of a limit, of a boundary, of life lessons. So the universe. So once Saturn makes a whole revelation around the sun, that is 28 years roughly from when you're born. That's when the universe says you're an adult, because you've experienced that whole cycle. And so typically people, when they're about 28, 29, 30, they go through something that brings them to the next kind of course in their life, or brings in added responsibility. They get married, they buy a house, they find their dream job, they get divorced, they have a child, something that brings in added responsibility. And then you can break that down into smaller cycles. So you divide that, it's every 7-8 years or so, you get a 90-degree angle from that. And it's how that's how it can work.
So exactly, it's reflected in the universe as it's reflected down here, like with, above and below,
Yeah.
like really cool. Oh, wow.
So it's really wild that you said that 28, 29 years or somewhere abouts in that area, because when I decided to not continue with the job and the career that I was going with and decided to go back and help people, that was my yearning, my calling was from within to say, hey, you got to help people. So I was around 27, 28 years old when I left my old career and went back to school to become a doctor, a chiropractic physician. So when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's wild, because that happened right around the same time where I made that wild shift to say, hey, I'm going to go towards my passion and move in that direction.
And that's when I found astrology too, is at that same time for me. So,
okay.
yeah.
So, so now already we have a little thing. Hey, if you're 26, 25, or you're listening to this and you're a younger person, know that there's a potential shift coming in your life, right? And that's kind of the cool thing, the reason why I reached out to you and wanted you to come on and talk about, astrology and everything like that, is because there's so many, I believe, there's so many benefits to it. It's mindfulness and helping you to understand and navigate your environment just like you would if you were checking the weather. Not that those things should play a role in how you feel about, your life and things like that, but it gives you a little bit of an insight to say, hey, maybe I should carry an umbrella today, or maybe I should wear some sunglasses. It's going to be a sunny day today, right? With astrology, that's what you're doing as well, right? You're just helping people navigate, correct?
Yeah, it's energetic weather.
Okay, energetic weather.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, so you're making sure that today you put it's going to be a super positive day. Let's put those sunglasses on and continue to move through.
That ties in a little bit to I don't remember if it was on the last podcast or a conversation you and I, Will, that we had the other day. But there isn't really truly no separation between us and the universe. And I feel like this is probably a really cool way to understand that, because the will, you said how to feel about our lives and stuff. Like, it maybe shouldn't dictate that, but
Right.
it's like, probably a really helpful tool in breaking down how the flow of the universe, the will of the universe, is always flowing through us, and learning to dance with it.
Yeah.
And not work against it, because like the flow of the collective mind or in the universe and all things is always happening, and as alone, our personal will is maybe not. You couldn't just fight the current all the way, but you can learn how to dance with it, how to flow with the stream, with the river, to get to where you're going versus fight against it. It's so cool.
I love that.
I'm already so into astrology right now. I'm like, yes,
I'm like, let's
teach me
see my
more.
birth chart. It's so cool. It's so interesting. Let's jump into one of these questions here that we have for you, and I'm just going to call it out, right? Let's talk about relationships and compatibility when it comes to astrology. Tell us what about that, and how can we use astrology, or what's the relationship with that? What's the
So astrology is a little bit, consider it like your software system and how you energetically vibe. So each planet has influence over parts of ourselves. So Mercury in our Roman mythology and the Greek counterpart was Hermes. He was the god that was able to go from Mount Olympus down to the underworld. So he had to have his wits about him when he would come up against that three-headed monster to be able to talk his way out of things. And so the ancients were just describing to us the energy there. And the planet Mercury has influence over our cognitive function, and it's how we communicate. So I can help a person understand the way that they read or present material, or the way that they just think. Are you a quick thinker? Do you think after the fact? How's that going to go? Well, it's about communication. So if you want to communicate with your partner, you want to have a healthy flow of energy between the signs, because signs, if they're in the sky 120 degrees apart, let's say air, for example, the air signs work well together. They flow harmoniously. And so you would choose a person that you can speak well with and have that natural flow of energy. However, certain signs are in a tough 90-degree angle, which creates a square and angle and tension and friction. And so, it's just, you're not going to be able to communicate well. And you could do that with all the planets. You have Mars, that's your attraction, that's your kind of aggression. So you want that to be in a healthy flow with each other. Yeah. So looking at relationships, and you meet somebody and you're seeing them from the outside and you're seeing that the person that they're presenting to you, when you see astrology, you can see their soul and you know who's somewhat behind there. I mean, we all make mistakes, but it's a huge leap forward into understanding another person and how that relationship is going to flow, where those times are that maybe you trigger a person, or what's going to trigger a person, or yeah.
So I got something really cool. So is there maybe if there isn't, I think this will be a great idea for you, but is there an astrological dating website where people are like,
tons of those. I think I've seen
like, because if you think about that, I've been on plenty of dates and you're like, oh wow, this person, they can text really well, through text or whatever it is. You're like, this person is amazing. And then you get to know them after, that little honeymoon period, 3-4 dates or whatever. And then you're like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? You know what I mean? But had you kind of known maybe a little bit deeper, so if I went to you and said, hey, this person's birthday is this, and this is what time they were born. You go to somebody, hey, when were you born? What time was it? And then I pass that information to you and you would say, don't go in that direction.
I have said that statement many times. Do not go in that direction. So a lot of times when I am introducing people to other people, because I enjoy that. I have Jupiter and Saturn in Libra. Libra's about relationships, and so that's just a natural thing for me to concentrate on when talking about astrology, is how human interaction. And so I definitely can say no, stay away from this. And it's a little bit harder to say this is absolutely going to work, but it gives you an edge.
Yeah, it gives you an insight to say, not to say that, hey, I shouldn't pursue this, but understand that in the astrological makeup of it, and the energy standpoint, which we all are energy, that, hey, this may not be the best situation. Mm-hmm. Although, I could look at myself and say, hey, I've changed a ton from what I was when I was in my 20s. But, going to those deep principles of, hey, what's this person all about? That's really what kind of astrology is all about, right?
Correct.
That's kind of in the compatibility. I love that. That's cool.
I have a question about, so my ex, they were a Aries, and we always had trouble with the communication because I was super spiritual creative and they were super, super grounded and scientific and calculated. So we literally had trouble communicating a lot. Does that make sense with the thing? Because I feel like you said something about Leo being the creative energy, and then like something around this time being another energy.
Yeah, so Aries is a fire sign and Leo is a fire sign. So that would be initial attraction. I would say for a person to start out by looking at the sun signs and choosing a sign that's in the same element as which you were born. But from there, it's so much more than just your sun sign. There's where the moon placement is, because the moon deals with our emotional sides and how you are going to emotionally interact with each other. And then there's Venus. That's the planet of love and beauty. So are your Venuses, in compatibility? So there's just a lot of different, it's a code, and it's kind of like a little bit of a kaleidoscope, and you have to that's a great misconception, is people will say, oh, I'm a Taurus, but I'm nothing like a Taurus. Well, that might be because you have a ton of Gemini energy, and that sometimes may overshadow it. It's a lot of layers. And, I've been studying this for, like we said, 11 years, and there's so much more to learn. Yeah. And it's a heavy study.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's so cool. I love that.
It's all awesome. So finding balance with astrology. Right. Obviously, handling that relationship portion. All right. Not just relationships, with, a significant other, but it could be a business partner, things like that. Right. It can go all that type of stuff. But finding balance with that within your life, with all relationships, obviously, with your health and wellness, with mind, what am I thinking here? Like a mind body type stuff, right? Talk about that. Talk about finding balance with astrology. How can we, what can you do with that to help other people? And not that you haven't already named many things that you can help with. I think the relationship one is huge, right? What is it, like 50% of people who get married or you're getting divorced? Well, hey, if they went and saw Angie, okay, at the beginning, first date is sitting with you, eating dinner with you, and you telling them, hey guys, if this can work or this can't work, might as well, cut your losses here, split this check and go your opposite ways. You know what I mean? But let's talk about finding balance with that.
Yeah, so I think the most important relationships are the relationships with God and the relationship with yourself. So astrology can help you understand yourself better and increase in self-love. So that's first and foremost. And with that, you create balance because you bring awareness to the fact of mind, body, and spirit there. And so when you look at a chart, there are 4 elements that our ancients said that we need to survive on this earth: earth, air, fire, and water. So you may have and there's planets that are placed in those elements. So let's say you're a person that has abundant energy of planets in the sky location in the sign of water. So you have a ton of water in your chart and you have little earth. So that means that you're going to be a highly, highly emotional person. You're going to be very empathetic, feel each other's emotion, feel somebody else's emotions, take that on. So for one, you're absorbing things that aren't yours. You're absorbing another person's energy, and you can take that on. And then that can go into depression and things, and just feeling at a low point if that's the way it manifests. So they lack earth. So what can they do to bring in the earth element? They can go sit outside. They can go sit next to a tree. They can practice grounding in any sort of way. And that can help bring that balance about. When you look at astrology too, there are 12 signs of the zodiac. And the first sign of the zodiac is the sign of Aries. Aries has the zodiac, like what you were saying, Mitchell, about it's outside of us and it's also inside. Mm-hmm. So the Aries part of the zodiac, that energy has influence over our part of the body that rules the head. The next sign of the zodiac is Taurus, that rules the throat and the neck. And so it goes all the way down to Pisces to the feet. So if you're an astrologer and let's say you are, sitting in this room right now, we have a Leo and 2 Aquarians. So Leo rules the heart. It pumps the blood, and it's a fire, warm energy. Aquarius rules the ankles, but it also is the circulatory system. So if I see a person that comes in and I'm giving them a reading, and I'm not a doctor, but if they ask me about health and I see that they have this Aquarius Leo stuff going on, I'm going to be like, heart health and anything that protects your blood, protects your veins. And
that is amazing. I'm just going to have to stop you there because that is very, very cool. I just had to throw that in. But if you want to keep going,
and I'll share with you this quote because you might like this, Will. But it's from Hippocrates. He said, "A physician without knowledge of astrology has no right to call himself a physician." So that carries a lot of weight, and this can really be helpful to people to understand. And
I'm super, super, super mind blown over here. I'm literally tingling on the back of my neck because I believe that everybody comes into our lives for a reason. I am looking to become the best healer for, get out of my own way, so to speak, knowing that I have the healing capabilities, but working to move forward through that and knowing that astrology was always an awesome thing. I always loved it. You look at the stars, you see the moon, you see the tide rise and fall, and you're like, hey, what's going on with all this, And I always had a draw to it. And lo and behold, in my living room now, I have this, master, yogi type astrologer person sitting here, who's like literally lighting me up. Mm-hmm. I feel like I need to start looking more into astrology. And thank goodness that you're here and you're kind of giving this insight, because I know somebody else on the other side of this is thinking the same thing. They're a healer themselves, hey, how can I become more effective at my healing? Well, hey, why not look into this area of astrology? Because we know that all things are affected by the planets, by the stars, by energy, really down to its greatest principle, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah. Something popped into my head. It's still a forming thought, so if I might stutter or like stop somewhere through here, but maybe it'll just come out great. Let's give it a go. So mankind as a whole is always moving towards knowledge and learning more and progressing. We're always moving forward. Sometimes in the world it seems like we're all shooting out away from each other and maybe not moving forward, but more becoming more separate at times. And the reason why I think it's really important that a physician should learn astrology, and someone who doesn't really have any consciousness of energy healing should learn some of that as well, and that the medical, like, super Americanized world should hop over and learn from like teachings and medical stuff on like at other sides of the world, is because we as an entire human race have learned a lot collectively, and in so many different ways. And the only way to truly move forward is for us all to move together and take into account all of the things that have been learned,
Yes.
all the
Awareness
astrology
of all.
knowledge, and the straight up like super calculated scientific, no even consciousness of like the energy side of it. Medical world in some way, energies over here, and what's another healing at me? I just have astrology in my head right now. But like, astrology, acupuncture, chiropractic, and then like
Massage therapy.
prescription drug, all those worlds have to come together for us to truly move forward. Otherwise, we're just learning in different directions away from each other and not perhaps progressing as an entire species. And then one day maybe we'll be learning not just humans but maybe other alien species too, who knows. But it's really cool to see this come together right here on this podcast, because Will being chiropractic, conscious of energy now, definitely now probably more than even in your past, but also trained in the modern medical, the books, straight up science, like more robotic probably teachings. You've learned all of that, and then you're coming together with someone who's learned astrology, and like the type of information that's being shared and generated here, the awareness is so beautiful. Like,
you said it.
The whole world should be doing that. In all different ways, like every different culture and every way that they've learned. Shamans in like little tribes in Africa or South America or whatever, they have that super awesome hidden shamanic knowledge that's like does come to us here or there, but like it's also beautiful to go learn. Like all of that should come together. And it will come together.
It is, because like they say, you throw a pebble into a pond or something like that, and those ripples, cast out everywhere. So everyone doing their little part of, working on themselves, but also connecting with others. Like, obviously this podcast, people don't know, Uncensored Perception is almost like a community podcast, so to speak. Our goal is to bring amazing human beings who have studied and have their dreams and their art and their passion, down pat, and they're looking to bring that out and share that with other people, because really the awareness is key. Being aware that Angie knows about how she can help me become a better physician, a better human, a better lover, a better relationship person, a better business person, just by utilizing the astrological charts, and things like that, is amazing. And someone out there, and most people can benefit from this. Everyone can benefit from this. I say most. Everyone can benefit from that cohesion of bringing that together and allowing people to see that. And that's what this is all about. So it's amazing. It's very cool. I'm so happy to have you here, because I'm very interested in moving forward with learning more about that. Yeah, I'm a little floored right now. So let's see. How do we move forward with that? Let's talk about the astrology community in Cleveland. Let's talk about how, because I think I want to jump in and be a part of that. I know. I'm going to figure it out.
Thank you. I teach through Lake Country Astrological Association, which I'm also the vice president of. And that organization has been in Cleveland since 1973. And it was led by the same founder, Carolyn Clemenson, for almost 45 years. And recently she stepped down. A new president has taken over, which is Robert Ditko. And we are just trying to work on bringing astrology now. I mean, we were meeting at Willoughby Hills Library for, we would bring in an astrologer either locally, nationally, or even internationally once a month. And since COVID, we had to move everything online. So now we're growing, we're getting members from all over the country, outside of the country. And so it's exciting. And you can find me there, lakecountyastrology.com.
A blessing in disguise, maybe.
Yeah,
For
we're uniting.
Yeah.
We're just further uniting right here in this room. And it's the collective consciousness is, I believe, and I'm feeling that shift. And a lot of people are. They're coming together. Not so much, I mean, we are going into spring. It's that time of, coming out, rebirth, and all that good stuff. But I think there's a conscious shift that's happening. And it's becoming aware of things like what you do. And becoming aware of all possibilities that will allow us to all move, flow, and grow together, which is so amazing. Okay. So you told them, where they can find you. I know you said you're working on the website that's in the works. Mm-hmm. I know how tough that is. It takes a long time. I'm still working on my Slack CLE one, which has been, I've been working on it for like 9-10 months. So trust me, I know it takes a long time. But are you doing healings or readings over the phone, or do you do Skype or how can they reach you?
I prefer Zoom or any type of screen share. That way, you guys here are able to see this chart that I have pulled up on my computer, so you can see what it is that I'm reading, and that's what I like to have my client experience is that they're looking at what it is that I'm reading. So it's not just like I'm blowing smoke, They can see it. So
I am super impressed. Super happy that you decided to come out here and be a part of this collective consciousness, working to uncensor perception out there and get people to understand that this isn't voodoo. This isn't some going against your religion type stuff, right? This is physical matter that's creating energy and that moves energy. And if we can just start to understand that, that will, in and of itself, can put some ripples in our brain and change our life into a new direction.
It's another science and/or lens to put over the eyes to peer at the world through and see it through a different light. Yeah. Like straight up, like I went fishing yesterday and my friend was like, hey, try on these glasses. And they were ones that take all reflective light and it cancels it out. And I put them on, I could see every fish in the water. Mm-hmm. And it was like night and day. I'm like...
the polarized lenses.
Yeah, the polarized lenses. So I'm like, astrology is kind of like, look up at the world and the stars, in one big frame, put on the glasses, and all of a sudden, boom, you can see the lines connecting all the things that you didn't know may be connected. Yeah.
Well, that's true too. I mean, when you look at the constellations in our sky, there's certain apps, phone apps that you can see those images of, the bear or Orion and his belts, and you can see where they draw in what's behind those stars. Well, if that was in our sky and you could see that at all times, I think we would be a little less looking down and a little bit more looking up.
Yeah, I agree.
Your head held high.
Yeah.
How cool. Very excited to move forward. I would obviously like to do a follow-up. Maybe we can get someone on here if somebody is listening to this and, maybe they're having a tough time in their life. Maybe we can bring them on the show. Maybe we can do a live, reading for them.
That'd be so cool.
Which would be so cool because, I would like to just feel that energy of somebody flipping the switch and saying, oh my God, right? Just having that, oh crap moment, like, oh my gosh, I can change my life.
Yeah, and that's why I love my job.
I know it. I can tell. You're radiating with beautiful, positive energy, and I super appreciate it. So, wow, how do we end this one? I don't know if I want to end it. Let's keep going. No.
All right, forever. Well, I guess keep tuning in for the next future follow-up that we do, because this will be continued. I can already tell. Like, we got more to say. But today went super, super wonderful. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you
again.
so much for reaching out and connecting.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Angie Agnoni of Paradox Astrology, for coming on. And gosh, I look forward to hearing more.
Absolutely.
Take care, guys.